Ito pala ay si Beta. Si Beta.
What, paman? 41, paman?
Wala na, anak Grace.
Oh,
Asan-
nakalagaw. Eh, unmute, sir. Ito.
Integration from Awareness, Innovation Based. Surprise. Functional complex. Participation list. Based educators.
Visible there, one of his books, coming from exactly this same principle that one of the ways we help teachers to improve is by trying to make learning more visible. So we can
Apat. Nandalap ko daw. Nandalap ko.
Nakapasok naman na ako.
May meeting na, may connect. So na lang mag-attend, ma'am, yung sa Zoom meeting. Research. Ay, ikaw mag-attend dyan. May pa na.
Ako na. Hindi.
Hello, good morning, everybody. We would like to welcome everyone on the National Action Research Expo 2022, hosted by the International Congress of Innovation-Based Educators and Researchers Incorporated and the Philippine Institute of the 21st Century Educators Incorporated. We have an overwhelming number of participants coming from all over the country. Our participants today is so diverse. We have teachers from public schools, private institutions, state universities, and colleges, among others. We are currently viewed in different social media platforms. We are also live via Zoom, and we are live on YouTube in the POMI channel. Late telecast of this event will be uploaded at the Facebook page of Philippine Institute of the 21st Century Educators, or PICE 21. At this juncture, we would like to request for your attention for the prayer. So let us bow our head and put ourselves in the holiness of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear Almighty and ever-loving God, we glorify and thank thee your name. You have showered us with so much blessings, and your presence continuously remind us of your faithfulness and guidance. We may humbly ask you to shower our speakers today of your greatest inspirations, so that they may be able to share the most of their knowledge and heart on their topics. We may also absorb the invaluable knowledge and experiences and put it into practice what we may learn today. We pray that you bless all the committees in charge, that they may be able to fulfill their tasks responsibly, that the objectives that they have set may all be achieved. Your infinite blessings would mean the success of this expo. May we be living witnesses of your genuine love through the enactment of knowledge acquired through this activity. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. All right, so good morning once again. To give her short message, let us all welcome Professor Emily John Indonila Palmani, President of Philippine Institute of the 21st Century Educators.
Good day to all 21st century educators present this morning. Thank you for your utmost support to our organizations. As much as I want to be with you in this event, my facility at this moment won't allow me, as internet connection both in Globe and Smart are too poor in my location. However, I still want to express my gratitude to all of you who are still eager to learn more about our profession, to be able to cater both the needs and wants of our students, our respective schools, communities, and our country. By attending webinars like this, we are not only serving others, but we are also serving our own selves, as these webinars feed our hunger for knowledge for our individual growth as well. Indeed, a healthy, both in mind and body teacher makes learning more enjoyable and meaningful. I am also happy to announce that we have a new addition to our family. This two-day webinar is sponsored by our new organization, the iCyber, or the International Congress of Innovation-Based Educators and Researchers Incorporated. They had conducted an election, and one of our resident speakers, in the person of Dr. Gilbert C. Magulo Jr., is the elected president of the said organization. As our family here in PICE I-21 grows, our unity as 21st century educators of the Philippines strengthens. And who knows, we will soon be able to conquer the world. Everything is possible with proper mindset and determination. I will not keep you waiting. I am sure that you are all excited to welcome and listen to our first speaker this morning. With this, in behalf of PICE I-21, iCyber, and the rest of our affiliated organizations. I, Mrs. Emijan and Donila Palmani, your PIES I-21 National President, welcome you to our two-day National Action Research Expo 22. Let us all stay safe and always look for the good in everything. God bless us all.
Bili ko kanina. Katong isa rapat na kuno 52. Kay pulo. Biling para nito. Yes.
The coronavirus is very unpredictable as it keeps evolving itself. It is still too early for us to say that it has already been defeated and shall be treated like an ordinary flu. However, we believe that it shall not be a hindrance for us to provide quality conferences and workshops. This difficult time has become an opportunity for us to explore new platforms of learning through online. And last year, the Philippine Institute of the 21st Century Educators has been accredited by the Professional Regulation Commission to be one of the official CPD points provider for educators in the Philippines. Our first CPD accredited event will take place in a couple of weeks. To know more about PIES 21, we have prepared a short video for you.
Teachers are the most important resources in any educational institution. They should be trained to create effective learning environment, keep updated on modern instructional devices, and be inspired to become better in the modern world. Philippine Institute of 21st Century Educators Incorporated, or PICE I-21, is one of the leading providers of professional development for the 21st century educators in the Philippines. We offer seminars, trainings, and conferences for professional teachers at a very affordable registration fee, and we also accept membership. Committed to provide quality and relevant trainings in the field of education, shall empower the 21st century educators to promote professional development and strengthen the paradigm of excellence. Our core values: P. Professionalism, I. Integrity, C. Commitment, E. Excellence, I. Innovation. Accredited by PRC and the new CPD provider in the Philippines. Accreditation number PTR-2021-346. Be one of us. Let's be the molders of a brighter future.
All right, so this National Action Research Expo 2022 is co-presented with the International Congress of Innovation-Based Educators in the Philippine Institute of the 21st Century Educators. This expo is divided into 4 topics. So our first topic is entitled Participatory Action Research Theory and Methods for Engaged Inquiry, to be conducted by Dr. Gilbert C. Magulod, to be followed by the topic 2 later this afternoon, entitled Action Research, Developing Reflective Thinking and Practice, to be conducted by Professor Resty C. Samosa. And our third topic tomorrow morning is entitled Becoming a Teacher Through Action Research, to be conducted by Professor Alberto B. Dizon. And our last topic is entitled Research in Action, Theories of Practice for Innovation and Social Change, to be conducted by Professor Resty C. Samosa. Before we start, a quick reminder, participant, your participation is highly encouraged during the open forum or the question and answer segment to follow right after the talk proper of our speaker. You may comment your question in the comment box on YouTube, Zoom, or Slido.com. For those who would like to ask their question, directly to our speakers, kindly click the raise hand button in Zoom. We will notify you if you are recognized to ask the question. This time, let me introduce to you our guest speaker this morning. So our speaker for today he is presently the University Director for Knowledge and Technology Management, KTM of Cagayan State University, Tuguegarao City since 2018. Concurrently, serving as the Campus Research Coordinator of Cagayan State University at LASAM. He is an Associate Professor 3. He's also obtained his PhD in Educational Management at the age of 23 in 2013. Master of Arts in Education, major in Educational Management in 2011, Bachelor in Elementary Education Generalist in 2010, and finished academic subjects for BS Ed English in 2013. He has published numerous research articles indexed in Scopus, Clarivate Analytics, and Asian Citation Index journals. He has H index of 7 and an I-10 index of 5. Dr. Magulad has presented researches in various international, national, and regional research conferences and symposia, and awarded as Best Research Presenter and Best Research Paper Awardee. He is also awarded as Distinguished Faculty Researcher for Social Science category at Cagayan State University and 2001 Global Educators Award in Research, rank 1 in international category. He presently serves as editor and reviewer of various SSI Web of Science, Index, and Scopus journals such as International Journal of Learning, Teaching, and Educational Research, Sage Open Article Editor and Reviewer, Journal of Technology and Science of Education, Studies of Applied Economics, Guest Editor for Economics of Education, Eurasian Journal of Educational Research, Journal of Social Studies, Educational Research, Asia Pacific Journal of Multidisciplinary Research. Dr. Magulad has co-authored 5 books, namely 1. Research Methodology, Quantitative and Qualitative, a practical guide for research for gaps identification to publication. Number 2, How to conduct action research in education. Number 3, The teacher and community, school culture and organizational leadership. Number 4, How to write and publish your thesis. 5, How to write and publish your dissertation. 6, Writing methodological review. Dr. Magulad is also presently engaged in externally and institutionally funded research projects of Cagayan State University in collaboration with the government agencies such as Department of Science and Technology and the Department of Agriculture. He has been endorsed and finished the Leadership Development Program for Higher Education Institution in the Philippines, initiated by the Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Studies and Research in Agriculture, and head of the Foundation of Singapore from April to June 2021. He is an associate member of National Research Council of the Philippines under Division 1 and conferred as Fellow of Royal Institute of Educators in Singapore. And finally, he is the president of ICEBER, the International Congress of Innovation-Based Educators and Researchers, the organizer of today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Gilbert C. Magulad Jr. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Naimbag nga bigat kadatay amin in our language, Ilocano. And of course, to those members of the International Congress of Innovation-Based Educators and Researchers Incorporated, or the ICEBER, I welcome you all. I am taking this opportunity to thank the people behind my election as the national president. And I hope this will be the beginning of a stronger partnership among us, collaboration and linkages. Let me share my slides. Thank you very much, our host. Please allow me to share my screen. Of course, to our researchers, school teachers, administrators around the Philippines, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Okay, please allow me to share my screen. Thank you. Okay, so the first topic that I will be sharing to you is, this activity is sponsored by Iceberg. This is the first ever activity ever organized by Iceberg, the National Action Research Expo 2022. And this will be starting today, January 28th, and until tomorrow. The topic given to me is on the Participatory Action Research, or PAR, the theory and methods for engaged inquiry. I would like to share to you that when you talk of action research, we already heard a lot about this concept of action research, particularly those teachers here, those master teachers here, of course, those professors and instructors in the different universities in the Philippines. The topic that I would like to expound this morning is on the concept of participatory action research. Let me begin with the quote coming from Margaret Whitley, that there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. We are a community of educators. We are a community of learning practice, along with our specializations, disciplines. And we form that community. And as part of the community, we have the responsibility, we have this accountability to do something for our community. And it's good that we are all educators here, and we are talking about the community of learners, the community of teachers, or the school community itself. Let me begin with my outline presentation. I will be discussing to you topics on the participatory action research, the paradigm shift of action research, and PAR, its theory and practice. What are the underlying theories of PAR, and what are the benefits to students and teachers? I shall also be walking you through different examples of PAR already conducted by different institutions, which can be a basis for us, para pagkatapos ng lecture natin na ito, you can also come up with your own proposal, with your own project, related to your specialization, related to the concern you would like to address in your respective institutions or in your respective communities. So let's try to begin first in the very basic one, participatory action research. So we always heard about community-based action research. We also heard about participatory action research, but these are all types of action research. Why? Because when you talk of action research, these are problem-centered as well as problem-driven approaches to research that require flexibility. That's why when we are in the classroom, we always talk of action research. Then your principal or your mentors would always ask you, what is the problem? What is the gap? What is the issue you would like to address? Intervention you would like to implement. And that is actually the reason why we do an action through research. And the concept today is the participatory concept. And the aim here is to promote a community change or action. Now, when you talk of participatory action research, we always talk about different theories of development, and we come up with what we call theory of change. Lagi naman, pag sinasabi kasi nating action research, lagi kayo, in the basic definition kasi ng action research nyo, lalo-lalo kung teaching and learning yung konsepto nyo, you always focus on a teaching strategy, on the effectiveness of certain method, effectiveness of certain reading program, etc., etc. Now, when you talk of participatory action research, it's like what we call, it's really a community working together to address a certain issue or a gap. And I hope that this will be the form, no, the basis of doing action research for these DepEd school teachers. Kasi I have been sitting as a panel and I have been sitting as an evaluator, and what I usually see is action research is really seen as an individual endeavor of the teacher, whereas the participatory action research is seen as a collective endeavor. It's not only the researcher who is involved, but you involve the community to work towards development. Now, when you talk of PAR, no, it is based on the critical social theory. Therefore, PAR emerged in the field of community development. We are all teachers. We are all thinking of the interventions. We are all thinking of the plans, policies, programs. So we do in our institution. Diba? Sa DepEd, you do have feeding program. You have school discipline activities. You have school gardening, gulayan sa paaralan, and so on and so forth. And this emphasizes, no, the rights and capacity of the people who are involved. In short, participatory action research is not seen as an individual work, but it is seen as a collaborative work among the members in the community. Now, may I ask the listening teachers here, how many of you already conducted an action research that is involving many people, that is involving the community? Now, I would like to give you an example. When you talk of literacy, we always do action research on effectiveness of an intervention in the classroom, no? But have we ever considered that that action research may also be engaged by the parents, by the barangay officials, no, and all the stakeholders in the institution or in the school, because we have the internal and external stakeholders, no? So we try to look now as a participatory action research, and we are going beyond to the traditional concept that action research is an individual work of a teacher. Participatory action research is seen as a work of the different people in the community. So let me proceed to the next slide. Now, therefore, no, PAR is a thread of action research. Ang daming uri ng action research na pinag-uusapan natin. But we try to look at the process na mayroon talagang impact, meron talagang pakinabang, at talagang merong change na masasabi natin sa isang community with regards to the action research you would like to implement, because you involve the participation of the people around you. Therefore, no, as not all action research is collaborative. Sometimes action research is done by an individual teacher alone in the classroom with the implementation of intervention to the learners. But through PAR, we are seeing research as a collaboration, as a participation. Action research is a research methodology which has been associated with the work of Kurt Lewin. When you go back to our professional education subjects, that Kurt Lewin, no, first established this concept of action research in 1940 to address classroom issues, gaps, and problems. Now, PAR today, PAR project, no, holds that research is conducted with participants rather than on participants. Instead of seeing our students instead of seeing our respondents as the respondents of our research, we are looking at them as our partner in carrying out a research. And therefore, within an educational institution, because we are all teachers here, whether in basic or in higher education, this would propose that the research to be conducted with the students rather than on students. So how far or how many of you already conducted an action research focusing on participatory action model, wherein we are looking at the community perspective. We are looking at the community to develop. We are looking at the whole community to come up with innovation or to develop their level of living, their practices in teaching, and of course, their implementation of different programs and projects in the Department of Education. So next is I would like to postulate this, no? That it is a high time now to innovate ourselves, no? Being the president of ICEBER, I would like to spark something that we do not look at action research now as a traditional positivist research, wherein the teacher is doing an action research alone in the classroom, in the school level, or in the district wide, no? And it's just a matter of operating an autocratic relationship. Kung researcher ka, ako. So it's time now to highlight what we call ecosystem to ecosystem in research, no? Yung ego kasi dati kung may action research ka, ako lang ang ma-promote, ako lang ang may research na ganyan, ako lang ang may ganito. But we are now looking today that action research should be done in a participatory way, wherein the researcher or the observer, no, only impacts the phenomenon being researched, but also there are multiple realities present in the data through collaboration and establishing a social aspect of knowledge creation associated with PAR. Lagi nating tinatanong ito, no, even when sa ating sa university, sa aming mga faculty, kasi I am also a faculty of the College of Teacher Education, and I have seen the plight of teachers. I have seen the plight of educators talaga. That sometimes kung may action research sila lang ang gumagawa. I think, no, starting this year, 2022, let's try to realign, let's try to modify, let's try to look at an action research as a participatory work among the individuals. Of course, you do not only involve the students as the respondents, but you also involve the principal, the guidance counselor, you involve all the people that has something to say on the topic or the problem you would like to address. Usually, no, participatory action research is very common when you talk of agriculture, when you talk of agricultural development, when we are implementing development in the communities. But of course, what I would like to see is, ito yung nakukulangan tayo sa ating linya bilang educators, bilang teachers, na dapat gumawa rin tayo ng mga researches, na action research na talagang may impact at talagang masasabi mo na meron talagang patutunguhan, no? For example, I would like to give an example of this, no? A teacher has an action research approved, no, by a certain division or a certain institution. Then kinary out niya, mag-isa lang siya. Then after conducting the study, he convinced the people to tell that this is the result of the research. That is already the old paradigm in research. The new paradigm in research now is problem pa lang ng research, pag-identify pa lang ng issues at gap sa community ninyo, in-involve mo na si kapitan, in-involve mo na si teacher, in-involve mo na si principal, in-involve mo na lahat yung mga tao na kailangan mong i-involve. And of course, may involvement rin ang mga regulatory at legal bodies who will be coming up with a policy, no? Based from your research, they will be coming up with a policy, they will be coming up with an ordinance or resolution na talagang may impact sa community. Kaya nga, pag sinasabi kasi natin ito, we are looking now at the very best that our researches should produce an output and outcome, no? And of course, output, outcome na may patutunguhan talaga, na ramdam ng mga tao na may research ka. Ramdam na ramdam ng institution ninyo, ng school ninyo, na ito ay contribution mo sa body of knowledge. So I hope that through PAR, we are now looking at our researches as something that is participatory and of course community-based, and it's a group work. It's no longer an egoistic work, but an environment of ecosystem that all people are working towards a certain project and they carry it out, no? So that's actually the paradigm shift now of action research. Moving on, is still on the definition of PAR, no? Therefore, the knowledge we get from PAR holds that the experiences and lives of the individuals is created through collaboration between the researcher and the co-researcher. No, kasi kung research ang pinag-uusapan natin, no, lalong-lalo na kung action research, hindi lang kasi iisang method ang ginagamit natin diyan. We also involve steps and processes. We have our set of methodologies to implement a project. Therefore, PAR speaks to the constructivist nature of knowledge. You do not create knowledge alone, but you create knowledge as a group, and that is the basis. That is the basis of learning and knowing, since it is a communal act and how humans are social animals. Sinasabi natin ito, kung noon ang researcher, iisa lang siya. Ngayon, even in the international context, because we have now what we call the interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary concepts of research, no? Perhaps hindi naniniwala ang isang agency kung mag-isa ka lang na nagki-carry out niyan, no? Kung mag-isa ka lang na nagki-carry out ng isang project or isang study, dapat may involvement 'yan ang mga tao, may involvement 'yan ang mga institution, may involvement ang mga people concerned. Because later on, after the results of your study, then you will call me and present your results of your research that I have not even seen, no? Kung ano yung pinagagawa mo, perhaps the level of adoption and utilization of your research results will not be that good. Okay? So in an educational environment, it's Dewey in 1997 referred to this when he spoke of the fact that teacher has more to learn than to teach. Alam naman natin na si John Dewey is a progressivist educator. Siya yung may pakana ng mga concept din ng experiential learning. So why not involve all these people? So if you would like to put up an action research on reading literacy, you don't only focus to the students, you also focus to the other members of the community who will be contributing to the development of the project. Okay, so what I am saying now is, I think it's time, or it's high time for us to see action research as a collaborative activity. One of the ways to facilitate this is through a more collaboration, establishing a democratizing learning environment that would benefit both teachers and the students. Moving on. Now, action research to participatory has drawn number of theories, and it is on the process of pragmatism, no, on the theory of pragmatism, or the philosophy of pragmatism, the practice of democracy, constructivism, and feminist inquiry. And both participatory action research and education holds that reflection is important. We try to become reflective thinkers, no? And this afternoon, that will be the topic of the next speaker on reflective thinking through action research. Now, I'd like to further dig on the process on pragmatism. What works best? What is working in the community? What is working in the community of learning? And those are not working, no? As sample, like strategies, methodologies na hindi siya talaga effective in enhancing the academic performance of the learners, they can be discarded. Kasi pragmatism tells you what works best, and that can be adapted. Okay, so we are focusing on the best practices, no? Even in the practice of democracy, we try to involve students, we try to involve the parents, we try to involve the school administrators, we try to involve the people who can be helping us to carry out the research. Siguro ang maging thinking natin kung tayo ay action researcher, ang isipin natin doon ay hindi na tayo talaga nakafocus doon sa ending ng research natin na ma-promote tayo, kundi ang focus natin ay doon sa outcome, doon sa output at outcome ng research natin. Na kahit, no, mag-retire ka na teacher, they will remember you because that's your contribution. That immortalizes you, no? Because you establish something. You put up something based from the research you conducted. And most of all, no, if you do an action participatory action research in enhancing the livelihood of the community, the literacy of the community, and that will be your legacy as an educator. So therefore, no, we try to improve our craft. We try to look at the process. How do we define now a 21st century educator? Moving on. So in participatory action research, no, I think you are familiar with the book of Paulo Freire on the pedagogy of the oppressed. Nasabi ni Freire is when we are doing something in the community, no, ang laging oppressed diyan, the culture of silence is the students, no? Kung administrator naman yung mga teachers, kasi ito kasi yung gusto nila, ito kasi yung dapat na mangyari na gusto ng administrator. So today, no, we are debunking now the theory that action research to teaching and learning is a way to liberate the minds of the individual, no, the minds of our learners, and establish their partnership, their commitment, their collaboration with us. As educators, we need to remind ourselves that our job is to constantly put a new lens to view the world. And we are not an innovative educator kung lagi lang tayong nakabox ang ating thinking. We try also to open our minds, no? And only by viewing the world through this new lens, for example, by engaging students in a research project from start to finish using participatory action research, we can see things that otherwise remain invisible. I will be providing an example mamaya, yung mga best practices na nakuha ko rin in my encounter with people who are carrying out participatory action research. So from this figure, you can see, kaya nga siya participatory action research is through participatory, you collaborate. Through action, you change your life. There is a theory of change there. And through research, you generate new knowledge. So the concept here is PAR stands for Participatory Action Research Towards Development. Diba? So napakagandang konsepto po itong PAR na tinatawag natin, kung ang lahat ng mga action research natin ay nakaangkla sa mga projects na PAR ang kanyang nature. I think it's high time already to expand yung mga researches natin na pang classroom based lang. Dagdagan na natin yan ng participation ng community, no? Lalong-lalo sa inyong mga in the basic education level, no? At the same time, you will be carrying out also a longer and a guaranteed sustenance and utilization of the results of your research. Kasi laging tinatanong yan. Kinandak mo nga yung research na yan. Anong nangyari sa community? Anong ginawa mo sa community? No? You carried out this kind of research alone. What have you done? Okay, so I think it's high time to go back, to reflect, and try to align our action researches with the spirit of participation, with the spirit of collaboration. Moving on. So therefore, no, PAR is somewhat democratic because the stakeholders, the students and teachers act as co-researchers. That we are already debunking the concept that the teacher as a researcher. Ngayon, the student and teachers as researchers. They work together. For example, the implementation of an intervention in the classroom, the implementation of a reading literacy program, a feeding program, no? Or development of learning materials. Okay, so these are all now the new development we have. Actually, PAR is not new, but it is somewhat, hindi kasi siya sikat sa atin sa Pilipinas. No, hindi kasi siya ganun yung level ng kanyang acceptance, is hindi kasi yung gaanong nakikita as a development work, no? Kaya it's high time for us, no, to look at research, action research through participation. And I'm very glad that you are all members of the ICEBER, and we are carrying out this as our mandate to innovate, to provide you concepts for innovation in your own practices, in your own craft as educators. So Koch and Kralik, no, I got really those people, mga researchers. They state that researchers work collaboratively with participants as they co-generate knowledge which addresses a problem. No? Ang concept kasi natin dito, kung naggawa tayo ng action research sa classroom at tayo lang na teacher to implement, to test the effectiveness of an intervention, though students mo naman yung ginamit mo na respondents mo, later on, ang magiging concept of utilization ng research mo hindi ganon kalakas yung impact sa community. Okay? So kailangan mong dagdagan ng mga tao, kailangan mong dagdagan. No, you work together to achieve a common purpose. Because this relationship and environment, PAR embraces a democratic and non-hierarchical relationship between the researcher and the participants. So ito yung mga kabagong konsepto natin because PAR is more on democratic philosophy or theory. Another one, it's constructivist because we construct knowledge through social construction. PAR is constructed by the persons involved in the research process and it is a social enterprise. Just like in doing a community project, no, in agriculture, no? Ganon din dapat ang konsepto natin sa education, no? At yung action research natin, hindi lang siya mag-recreate ng mga bagay na ganun lang, kundi mag-recreate siya ng bagay na ikaka-unlad, ikaka-improve, no? Kung ang research mo naman, action research mo sa school is on livelihood, no? On product development, yung gusto mong i-carry out, then ang maging outcome ng action research mo through PAR is you identify a community and later on after 2 years, 3 years of implementing that action research in the community, no? Kumikita na yung mga tao, na-improve na ang kanilang buhay, mas marami silang napaaral na mga anak, and that is actually a way to partner with communities. No, because funding agencies like the OST, the IBAR, yung mga funding agencies kasi natin, ayaw nila ang research na mag-isa lang ang gumagawa. Ayaw nilang punduhan. In short, mas gusto nilang punduhan kung maraming involvement. May involvement sila, may involvement ang mga tao na later on mag-a-adapt at mag-utilize sa resulta ng research mo, sa resulta ng action research mo. So therefore, all the stakeholders working together in a PAR project is non-hierarchical, no, democratic, generate knowledge, discover and understand together from the result in rich explanation and interpretation. Lalong-lalo na when you interpret the results, no? If you have the action research and you interpret the results, you do not interpret the results alone as a researcher. Instead, you convene the people, you convene your partners, and you talk it out. And when you talk of research, it is more valid, it is more reliable kung ang pinag-usapan natin dito ay principles of research methodology. Moving on. So another thing for PAR is reformative siya, no? It reforms. Why? It brings change, no? Change in students or teachers relationship, which is often described as teacher dominated and authoritarian. Through participants, both students and teachers talk about feeling empowered as a result of the project. Ito ay depende kung ano yung gusto yung i-carry out na project sa school ninyo. Pwedeng anti-bullying program, mga strategies during COVID-19, yung kanilang mga coping mechanisms, no? Their school and home collaboration on literacy, because we are taught looking at this concept, no? At what is good with PAR is hindi lang isa yung resulta ng research mo ang pwede mo later on i-publish, kundi maraming resulta ang research na ma-generate sa participatory action research. Maraming outcome, maraming potential, no? So the findings are consistent with Fieldman, who found that through PAR, participants become aware of their resources and abilities to increase their self-confidence and problem-solving abilities when working on a participatory action research project. Moving on. So what are the benefits of PAR to students and teachers? PAR initiative forces students to take this view further by asking what it feels like to be a certain group in the first place. So students often do not understand the difference between traditional research and action-oriented research.
Manonood lang.
Para mag-shift na tayo from the traditional one, we go now to action-oriented research. Talagang action. No, hindi natin pinapatay yung definition ng action research kasi may action talaga. Okay? So PAR initiative can be a wonderful opportunity for students and teachers to expand their knowledge and experiences related to research. And as Kindon, Payne, and Casby said, participants' capabilities, skills, and knowledge are developed during the research process through PAR. And PAR initiative can change students and teachers and also can change their perceptions of each other towards higher academic performance, improved literacy, kung ano man yung gusto mong outcome project mo sa school. Okay? So remember, we have the principles, we have the 7 principles of participatory action research. We acknowledge the community as unit of identity. We acknowledge the schools, the whole school. We acknowledge the school as unit of the identity. We build from that school, from that community, we build the strengths and resources. You do survey on their needs, Hindi rin nalalayo ito sa project development ng mga agriculture dito, Kasi meron silang mga ganito rin. Pero what I would like to emphasize is let's try to contextualize this in the area of education. So number 3, principle is we facilitate collaboration, equitable partnership in all phases of research involving empowering and power sharing process. And of course, foster co-learning and capacity building among all partners. Number 5, a balance between knowledge generation and intervention for the mutual benefits of all partners. Na number 5, yung resulta ng research ninyo na na-generate from the action research you did at yung intervention na ginawa ninyo, hindi lang magbe-benefit ikaw na teacher, kundi magbe-benefit ang lahat ng tao, ang lahat ng mga identified members of the community mo. Kaya nga, when you talk of PAR, Participatory Action Research, meron kayong tinatawag na si community of practice. Ito yung mga partners ninyo na kailangan ninyo ring identify kung sino talaga yung itatap ninyo, kukunin ninyo, and they will have the commitment to work with you. You can be the project leader and they can be your study leaders. They can be your co-researchers in a project. Number 6, it focuses also on the relevance, whether it's public health issues or literacy that attend to the multiple determinants of health or in education. Hindi lang isa yung ina-address mo, kundi you can also address na all the aspects. For example, you did a research through PAR on the reading strategies or reading literacy in your school, Hindi lang ikaw na teacher nagsasabi, mga kapokuguro, i-adapt nyo naman tong ginawa kong intervention, kundi i-adapt din yan ng barangay community ninyo, ng barangay officials nyo. They will be putting up a learning reading resource center in your barangay out from your research, something like that. They will be coming up with, they will be your community from your research. Magpapalagay sila ng mga reading or learning materials or reading facilities. The principal can also let you do upscaling of your project. So ito yung mga outcome kasi ng mga research ninyo. Para hindi lang kasi yung kung teacher tayo, ito yung action research natin nagawa natin, after doing the research at na-promote tayo, wala na. Okay? So ang impact kasi, ang pinag-usapan natin dito ay impact at outcome ng ating mga researches, ng ating action research. Okay? It is not different from what we do in the university because we do extension projects in the university. We have RDE projects in the university na talagang inoobserbahan namin hanggang sa beginning at within 3 years yung duration ng isang project at inoobserbahan namin kung may improvement ba, may nangyari ba sa intervention na ginawa namin sa isang community. Ganon din yan sa education natin. Ganon din yan sa basic ed. Okay? And of course, the community involvement in dissemination of results. Later on, yung resulta ng research mo, hindi mo na lang alam na rin nila. So, the parents are involved, The parents understand what will be the result of your study that can be part of their practice at home. No? Magiging part yan ng habit nila, tuturuan yung kanilang mga anak. Okay? And through PAR, it involves really a long-term process and commitment. Kasi kung gusto natin na high impact yung mangyari na project natin, hindi lang siya gagawin ng isang SEM, hindi lang siya gagawin ng 3 months, kundi may in a 3 year or in a period of 1 year, 1 to 2 years, no? Pwedeng may makuha ka ng outcome at impact doon. Okay? Who knows, the research of Ma'am Jeanette Pascual on bullying resulted to the barangay ordinance on, ito yung basis ng pag-craft ng kanilang barangay community, ng kanilang barangay officials to come up with an ordinance on child literacy, child abuse, kung ano pa yung mga polisiya na pwedeng gawin ng mga legislative bodies in our community. Okay, hindi natin when we talk of PAR, binibigyan natin ng importansya ang mga taong nakakatulong sa atin, particularly the people, the barangay officials, no? Pero pag kaaway mo, no, kung kaaway mo ang barangay officials mo, hindi pwede 'yun sa PAR kasi they will not support you, they will not provide you the support you need to carry out the project. Okay? So next, so what are the general steps in conducting a PAR? Okay, we are now on the process of the engage inquiry. Number 1 is identify the general topic, no? Pag meron ka ng topic in your mind, for example, Sir Edmond would like to do a research, no, on bullying in the school kasi that is a problem in the institution, something like that, no? Mga example lang naman. You try to identify the general topic, and after that, kung bullying siya, bullying yung gusto mo, or child abuse, no? It's a more generic term. You try to involve the people. You try to think who are the people who can be your stakeholders or the community partners for that topic. The policeman, pwede yan, no? You can also get the guidance counselor in your school. You can also get the SWD as agency, no, who will be part of your action research on child abuse kasi ito yung mandate nila sa gobyerno. Okay? You can also include the parish priest in your town. So lahat ng mga yan ay kailangan mong i-involve. Alam niyo ang PAR kasi talagang matrabaho talaga siya, pero pag nagawa ng maigi, doon mo malalasap ang tunay na impact at outcome ng isang project or isang action research project. Okay? Then collaboratively identify the problem. From that, ito yung stakeholder mo, you talk it out among the group, no? Representative from the PNP, representative from the SWD. No, I am the teacher who would like to do research on child abuse. Now let's try to talk it out. What are the emerging problems in our community with regards to child abuse? Then, of course, different agencies can provide you also data. No, may data ang DSWD, may data ang PNP, no, may data yung psychologist sa school ninyo. So you try to group together, you try to talk it out. Then after identifying the problem, you conduct also a literature review. Ikaw na researcher, you conduct a literature review because you would like to identify what have been studied before na gusto mong bigyan pa ng concern. Okay, kasi take note of this, akong individual researcher ka lang, you just think of the data, hindi mo naman alam pa yung situation and background ng problema na yan sa community mo kung hindi mo i-involve yung mga tao na nandoon. So, i-involve mo na siya para later on, alam mo, makukuha mo talaga yung actual na senaryo. Napaka-realistic yung pagkakuha ng background ng problem mo. Okay? And of course, number 5, you collaboratively craft the problem or issue statement. Okay? So, I would like to provide you an example. No? Taking it from the conceptual framework of your basic education research agenda, kung problema yung pinag-uusapan natin, we are coming up with a participatory action research. No? Ito yung research agenda kasi ninyo yung mga taga DepEd. No? Kinuha ko po to. It's a public document. I downloaded this. So you're focusing on the research agenda on teaching and learning. So what compare, ano ang gusto mong i-carry out na PAR project along teaching and learning? Ano naman ang gusto mong i-carry out na PAR project along child protection, on human resource development, or in governance? Kung kayo ay principal, administrator, or supervisor in your community or in your institution or in your school. So at least you are aligned, you are anchored really to the research agenda na gusto mong i-carry out, no? And of course, when you think to plan a PAR project, ito yung mga samples na meron tayo, no? I acknowledgement to the pictures. Kinuha ko po sa internet ang mga pictures na yan. Number one is, for example, implementing a school disciplinary program, focusing on bullying, no? Pwede yan. Implementing a school feeding program. Because ang school feeding program naman natin, we are not just there to feed the learners. May research din na ginagawa dyan. May research din through school disciplinary program, no? Implementing health and wellness program in our institution. So these are broad projects, no? Broad concepts na pwede nyong pasukan, na pwede nyong gawan ng proposal sa district ninyo, sa school ninyo, or sa division ninyo. And number 4, implementing a literacy program, whether writing, no, reading, anuman yung gusto mong i-carry out, or implementing a livelihood program sa institution ninyo. Okay? So, pwede yan yung mga pwede nyong i-create na topic. Okay? So, take note of this, that through PAR, this is the topic. You identify the stakeholders and the community. You have the list of the stakeholders na gusto mo nang kunin. And together, you identify the problem or issue. Okay? Then, of course, you conduct a literature review. What does literature tell you about bullying? What does literature tell you about school gardening? What does literature tell you about malnutrition? About this problem or gaps you identified with the group. And from that, you create a problem or issue statement. Okay? So, after that, ito na yung PAR literature review natin, no? Kailangan nyo ring identify ano yung mga nasulat na memorandum, division memo, school memo about sa problema na yan. Okay? Ano yung mga meron tayo na saligang batas? So, determining the relevant disciplinary bodies of knowledge. Number 2, locating and summarizing relevant literature that are really current and landmark studies from each discipline or area. Okay, because number 3, determining what is beyond the scope of each discipline. Number 4, locating existing synergies between the different resources. Number 5, creating possible new synergies between the different resources. And of course, synthesizing the literature in order to build a conceptual framework. So that's actually the process how you will do a literature review. Action research, talagang may literature review yan. So I provided you links for literature review na pwede nyong tignan. So tignan nyo na lang kung ano yung pwede nyong makuha diyan. So direct to the
Paano siya mantiwat B? Hello, everybody. I think we are now experiencing some technical difficulties. So we just wait for Dr. Magulod to fix the system.
Ako? Parang ang daming naging ano na siya, inisip sa kanya.
So, our dear participants, Dr. Magulod has notified our technical that he is experiencing some problem with his connectivity, internet connectivity in Cagayan, but you'll be back in a few moments.
Ano?
Hello po. Pasensya na po due to technicality. I do not know what is happening to the PLDT connection dito sa area namin. Lagi siyang nawawala. So, pasensya na po. Let me continue. Let me continue po. Laging nawawala yung PLDT.
Yes.
Please allow me to screen share. Hello. I cannot share my slide. Okay, pasensya na po kayo. Kasi laging nawawala po yung PLDT line namin. I do not know what is happening to PLDT. Okay, so at least you have ilang minute na break. But let me continue. So if you would like to get a literature review, be sure to it that your action research must have an ample literature review that could justify the problem of inquiry. So you can get literature review from your DepEd websites. You can get literature review from the different international, national online platform. So what I am showing you are the links for literature review, which can be used for you in designing or in coming up with the emerging problem in the field. So see to it that, for example, you are doing an action research on school gardening. You must be able to familiarize yourself what is new to what is not new already about that concept. About researches, PAR on child abuse, you should be able to know what is new to what is not new by doing a literature review. Because a literature review provides us the trend, the emerging problem, or what are the directions now of the new topic. Because if we are researchers and we do not have a literature review for our action research, meaning we are innocent. We might not be able to capture the different important concepts there, like the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, or in our action researches are aligned with. Okay, so now let's move on to the philosophies of PAR design. As you can see, participative action research or participatory action research has transformative paradigm. So it can be focusing on the critical theory, on the pedagogy, on action research, or PAR on doing researches with the indigenous people, feminist theory on gender and development, and of course critical race theory, because we have now the MTBMLE in our curriculum, in our DepEd. Sa basic sa pre-service education kasi, which I am a professor, is we have the subject teaching MTBMLE. So that's part already of the training of the pre-service teachers to be prepared as teachers in the future. So moving on, so now we move on now. Ano ba ang research design na gagamitin natin pag PAR ang ginagamit natin? So when you talk of PAR, it is just mainly a responsive research design. It can, PAR is an oriented research, and we do not have a particular research method, whether it's quali or quanti, as long as you carry out the project or the activity. The methods and strategies and approaches are selected for their ability to best address the research problem. And such responsive design follow the principle of recursiveness. So it's no longer linear, but it's recursive. Kasi yung action research kasi natin na laging yung traditional approach, napaka-linear kasi yon. Ito is, the methodology is recursive, in which the context refers to iterative research process whereby the team cycles back and repeat the steps by checking the data and adapting new insights from the community or from the community of learning.
Ganyan ninyo.
Someone builds recurring communication and evaluation in the process. And the best way to build a project around the problem at hand will be determined by the research team, ideally comprised of relevant stakeholders. So, in the research design, in the methodologies of a PAR, laging tinitignan dito yung commitment ng stakeholders. Kasi kung walang commitment, hindi siya magiging successful na project. Now, in PAR methods, you do surveys, that's part. You do observations, you do interviews, you do focus group discussions, you do community meetings, you do photo voice, no? Or you also do trainings or enhancement, or you can design the research called, which can be quali or quantitative method. So when you talk of action research kasi, we do not have a definite method to use as long as we carry out the project. Okay, so let's try to look at now what Randy Stoker, according to him, the ideal research project is one that serves community identified needs. So in the context of the classroom or in the context of your institution, what does your school need na kailangan yung i-address? And that should be sensitive also to the cultural understanding of the community and supports action around some community identified issue. Chopiak and Levesque, no, in 2002 said, PAR projects are designed in the context of knowledge application in some area. So you already see what the application of knowledge in certain community can do, or a certain intervention, no? And in this regard, the findings are considered active, not passive. That's why it is too late already if we are a researcher and we, after doing the study alone, and we call the people, we call the stakeholders to learn, to listen from our results, that's already too late. No? Kasi yung level of adoption at commitment nila wala doon. Kundi, the time that you are doing now the research, involved na sila, their commitment is there. So the level and the seriousness they can get to the project or to your PAR project is more on realistic at talagang the commitment is realized. And therefore, research findings are the launching of pods for ideas, actions, plans, and strategies to initiate social change. We do not wait for a certain research to be finished in order to initiate change. Through participatory action research, as the research is ongoing, as the research is being conducted, change is already there. So developmental ang konsepto kasi ng PAR po natin. Okay? So now, another concern we would like to address when we talk of PAR is the recruitment and retention. Number one, the recruitment and retention of the people to stay with our activity, with our project. So if one has identified the PNP, has identified these agencies to be your partner in carrying out the project, then you as a researcher should also manifest your commitment to the project. Kasi may mga taong kausap ka na dyan to implement it. Community understandings, norms, and values should be permeate the conceptualization of the process, helping you now to determine the culturally competent strategies for recruiting your desired participants. What is it? Okay. And take note that when you talk of PAR, it is reliant on community buy-in. And kung hindi siya inadapt at hindi siya acceptable sa community, forget that research. No? Kaya nga, conceptualization pa lang ng problem, adapt na, alam na ng mga tao na yun yung mangyayari at yun yung kanilang ginagawa. So PAR is a design imbued with a commitment to power sharing and respecting multiple kinds of knowledge. So multi-sectoral ang konsepto natin dyan, which is a good research design. No? Which is a good research design. Take note that the level of commitment requires an honest examination of one's own position in research, including education privilege, and an acknowledgement of how much you have to learn about the activities and norms within the community. Okay, so if we are a project leader, the honesty should start from us. No? Then bar design is always flexible and innovative. We do not have a definite design, no? Because it is a multiple resources and viewpoints are being brought together in a problem-centered capacity. Di ang ganda-ganda ng resulta ng research natin, no? Hindi lang si Teacher 3 ang nag-conceptualize ng problem, kundi involve yung mga tao na talagang mai-involve, na talagang sure na yung adapter ng kanyang results. Okay? Now, the thing is, how do we analyze and interpret the data from PAR? Take note of this, that when we do PAR, it is intended to promote action or change in a specific context. So, the research team have additional aspirations to use the research findings in other similar contexts. Kaya kailangan nyo dito na tinatawag natin ni Lincoln na transferability. The transferability wherein the ability to transfer the research findings from the context to another. That should be the goal. No? The transferability of the research findings. The more similar the contexts are, the greater the extent to which you can transfer your findings from one another, necessitating detailed, thick, vivid description of the case at hand. Okay? Now, after doing all the necessary prerequisites of PAR, meron na yung resulta ng study mo, what do? You try to look at the representation and dissemination. Because issues of audience and accessibility are intertwined, I review CBPR or PAR has multiple audiences which needs to be identified. First, there is the community to which the research occurred. Second, there are multiple audiences. They can be the policymakers, yung sinasabi ko kanina. And finally, there should be an academic audiences, wherein these academic audiences should be the primary beneficiaries of your PAR or participative action research. And it's important to share the research project within the academy so that others may learn about it and substantive knowledge gained as well as the methodology. So therefore, meron na siya kayong adoption at utilization ng results mo. So kung isang elementary school ginawa yung isang PAR, pwedeng i-adapt sa ibang elementary school, pwedeng i-adapt sa ibang district, sa ibang division, or who knows, that can be adapted in the national scale or national level. So another component of PAR is the utilization of your research is no longer a problem because the stakeholders are already benefited from the project and they have already the following findings that need to be understandable. The findings need to be distributed through channels to which identified audiences have access. So at yung sinishare mo na knowledge sa community, sinishare mo na knowledge na na-generate mo sa yung PAR is already validated through the stakeholders you have, and that is more valid to put this as a way for the other stakeholders or other people to adapt. So the result can have local organization, business schools, education centers, or galleries. No? Pwede mo nang isiwalat sa community radio ninyo, makikilala ka na dyan. Sa internet, yung resulta ng research mo, through local and national newspapers, malilimbag siya, nandun ang pangalan mo, nandun yung ginawa mo sa community. No? The presentation at public meetings in the community locations, or other venues like to reach the target audience. And that's better. That's a way for you to get 100% utilization rate of the the research results you have. Another one is, after doing this, kasi ang nagiging problema natin sa academe, while it's true that you have so many action researches conducted, but the thing there is, what has been done? What have been done from that research? So through PAR, hindi mo na problema ang dissemination mo because the results are already generated within the community, and as well as your findings can be packaged into a published research article, scholarly book chapters, or you can come up with a book from that action research you did that can be published in podcasts, in blogs, online articles, that can be part of the school to adapt an activity, poetry or spoken word readings, documentary films, visual arts or photography, and so on and so forth. So for example, the community, you did a PAR on the water crisis in a certain community by protecting the rivers in your community. Ang naging resulta ng research mo, nagkaroon ka ng book or storybook for the children, no? About this protecting the environment, protecting the riverbanks or the community in the area. Okay, so these are actually the participative action research we can do. Now, in your dissemination, take note of these, that depending on the particular project, findings may have potential impact to the community, which is the main purpose of PAR. What is the impact for community development? No? Hindi lang yung nagawa mo, wala na. Okay? Kailangan ng impact. So findings may have potential impact in the community. There can be public policy implication. Nakagawa ng ordinance, no? Who gets to represent the findings? How many representations will there be? No? Who gets to disseminate the results? So, or else, your research, ang pinakamagandang kwan dyan, yung research mo, yung PAR na research mo sa school ninyo, inadapt ng isang local government unit at naging basis to come up with an ordinance, to come up with a committee or additional budget. So, allocation for a certain activity, that is already the impact of your output, of your research. Okay? So, most of all, ito yung sasabi ko sa inyo, ang pinakamagandang impact ng PAR can be the policies or plans of actions. And this policy have been legislated by the legislative bodies, and through your action research, through your research, that is the basis of coming up with a policy in your community. And the impact is there. No, pwede kayong ma-awardan later on na outstanding teacher. That can be your entry towards better opportunities for your career progression. Bear in mind that policymakers create, implement policy, and of course, itong mga bodies kasi na ito, kailangan nila ng facts, kailangan nila ng mga findings na galing sa level natin para they can really implement the project. Nakapa-implement sila ng mga budget allocation for education or ano pang mga bagay. Okay? So if you wish to come up with a PAR, no, take note of this template. Dapat ganito rin. Depende yan sa institutional template ng school ninyo or ng district ninyo. Ito lang kasi yung common, no? Dapat yung title, meron na rin siyang abstract, keywords, the problem or issue, the literature review, the research purpose statement, the research question, philosophical statement, who will be the setting on participants, design and methods, data analysis, representation and dissemination, ethics statement, references, and appendices. Okay, so take note that in PAR, the problem is identifying the issue with the stakeholders. Okay, kaya nga ang PAR ay tinatawag na responsive research design because from group problem formulation, you collect data, you analyze the data, you convene the group, then group modifies the statement, then you go back again to group problem. It's cyclical. It's a recursive process. Okay, so your techniques in PAR can be done through this. Number one, establish your problem by mapping the stakeholders. So meron kayong tinatawag na CBO or community-based organization. Who are the partners for your study? Then number two, ito yung example natin, no? This has been my topic in my previous talk, no? Na problem on bullying the school, sabi ko, the stakeholders or partner may include individuals from the following categories. So representation from the teachers, student parents, guidance counselor, social workers, school admin, law enforcement, psychologists, or sociologists, pwede yan as stakeholder mo. Okay? So you do also a literature review on PAR, what's the global issue, the continental, the national, regional, and the local issue concerning the problem. So you do a literature review, you can go to Google Scholar, marami kayong pwedeng puntahan dyan. Okay, so now I would like to show you an example. This is a PAR project from sponsored by Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture. The concept is, the title is the School Plus Home Gardens Project in the Philippines, a participatory inclusive model for sustainable development by Blasilda Kalub and her associates. So napagandang proyekto ito, and this is funded by CIRCA in cooperation with UPLB and DepEd Laguna. So they implemented a project, a participatory action research on school and community-based food nutrition program for literacy, poverty reduction, sustainable development, or the school and home gardens projects. I can also share you the article, no, later, or this can be downloadable naman for free. Okay, so what's in the concept? Tignan niyo, ito yung kanyang konsepto. You can get this article from CIRCA website. And ang naging resulta ng research niya is nakagawa sila ng School Plus Home Gardens guidebook. And it's also downloadable. Now, let's try to look at the goal of the project. No? Napakaganda yung kanyang konsepto kasi. Ang goal na is to improve the nutritional condition and dietary habits of school-age children by increasing and enabling year-round production of locally adapted vegetables through school and home gardening. So, participatory in nature because from the title alone, you already partnered the school and the home, the parents and the students. This is before the pandemic, huh? Okay. So, this approach contributed to improving the academic performance of the school children, alleviating hunger, securing their foods and nutrition. No? And of course, the target within each municipality was that no school shall be left behind. Within the province, no municipality shall be left behind. So, itong kanyang introduction, of course, meron siyang kinuha na literature review coming from World Declaration of Education for All, wherein the project is aligned to proper nutrition around the world. No, aligned siya sa Sustainable Development Goal, no? And he has literature on 2013 survey on Food Nutrition Research Institute. Na ang sabi, 29% are classified as underweight. Imagine mga children sa DepEd based from 2013 survey, 29% are classified as underweight and 30% are stunted. So that's really a factor why we have a low level of academic performance compared to other Asian countries. So ito yung naging konsepto niya. Ang proyekto to come up with School Plus Home is School Garden. So another literature for school gardening, he got it, no? Then of course, international literature from UNICEF and World Food Program, kinuha niya, sabi niya, began to promote homeschool feeding program to connect school feeding with locally produced. Okay? So of course, may mga literature na siya sa mga legal documents ng kanilang agency. So DepEd order on gulayan sa paaralan, school feeding program, nandito na lahat. And of course, the methodology is participatory action research. So ang pinag-identify niya ng community ng mga schools ay ito siya, may criteria siya, no? Yung mga school na willing to participate. Yung mga school na maraming mga malnourished. Yung mga school na may mga garden area at water source. So ito yung kanilang mga ginamit na parameter to identify the school. And they did multiple way to do. They do interviews, mini surveys, site validation, profiling the school, etc., etc. And of course, focus group discussion and other participatory methods to monitor the progress and document changes. Now, who are the people involved? They have the pilot schools, the LGUs, the parents, and the DepEd units. And of course, the methodology, nag-conduct sila ng mga training. So, hindi siya naiiba rin sa extension program ng university, pero kung sa context ng education, sa basic education, napakaganda. Okay, so this is the conceptual framework of the project. So, tignan ninyo, no? Ang pinaka-goal is improve food and nutrition security. Ito yung pinaka-goal niya. And it was aligned to the different activities. So ito rin yung kanyang paano yung kanyang operational framework sa School Plus Home, paano niya itatap, no? Dapat explain ito sa mga CBO ninyo, sa community-based organization ninyo kung ano yung magiging partner nila. O ikaw LGU, ikaw ang in charge dito. Ikaw school head, ikaw naman diyan, no? Kayong mga taga-DA, kasi in-involve niya ang taga-DA, kayo naman ang in charge diyan. So a matter of doing an operational framework for the project. So, ito naman yung kanyang sampling, no? Scaling, no? Kung paano niya ginawa, it all started with intra-school scaling up network, then hanggang may nag-adapt na school district, then parami until such time naging national program. Okay, so who knows, one of you or all of you can come up with this kind of a project, no? So sa conclusion niya, school plus home enhance the concept of school garden to become innovative model for nutrition, education, economic. So kahit noong nag-pandemic, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung programa nila, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung garden nila. So yung mga taga-DepEd very familiar with this because the project is contributory to addressing the SDGs on no poverty, no hunger, good health, well-being, and quality education. So that's all about the School Plus Home program. So ito yung kanyang article, pwede nyong i-download para may basis kayo pag nilayan ninyo kung ano yung pwede nyong gawin. At from that research, PAR na ginawa, may nagawang guidebook on how to come up with the School Plus Home garden and published by CIMEO, CIRCA, UPLB, and DepEd. So the synergy is there. Okay, another one is, I have Dr. Mercedes Arsadon, who is a friend of mine from UP, University of the Philippines of the College of Teacher Education. Ito naman yung kanyang ginawa, no? Coming up with big books, no? Kasi ang pinaka-goal niya dito is yung implementation ng MTBMLE noon is yung kanyang estudyante or students in graduate school, they do service learning. And part of the activities, they go to communities to develop big books for these IPs, for these groups, no? So ang kanyang naging research, making mother tongue big books through university community partnership, co-producing multilingual big books through service learning. So that's Dr. Mercedes Arsadon. Siya ang isang pinaka-prominente na professor sa Pilipinas na nag-a-advocate ng mother tongue. Okay? So the book were developed through participation, no? The students were there, the students go to the community, they develop the book, they develop the activity hanggang may mga nagawa silang mga book and nalimbag, na publish, na utilize, inadapt ng school, inadapted ng DepEd. It's already contributing to the community. And this is PAR, Participatory Action Research, no? Kesa naman yung research natin, kung gagawa lang tayo ng book, for example, i-validate lang natin sa single kwan. So ano yung magiging impact o outcome? What you see here as the impact or outcome of this initiative is documented yung local culture, documented yung language. It's a preservation of the mother tongue language of this the community. Okay, next. So you can download the article, co-producing multilingual big books through service learning. You can learn, you can get information from this. And of course, from the research of De La Salle, no, the implementing school disciplinary program through participatory action research approach. So pwede nyong i-download para that can be a basis for you how to get a concrete example of a PAR. Kasi kung magtingin ka ng literature sa atin, kulang na kulang yung mga researches na nagawa rin ng teachers na nakaangkla sa PAR. Okay? Ito naman yung sa akin on the effectiveness of experience-based learning, no? We did a community partnership. We exposed the students going to the community. Okay, it was published in Clarivate Analytics. So a way to develop the environmental attitude of the students as well as something nagkaroon ng service learning, naglinis sila. So it's community. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you have also sample of sign-ups of strengtheners here na pwede kong iwan sa inyo na pwede nyong pagnilayan. You can select a research topic in which you are interested and do the following. So number one, identify all the relevant stakeholders first. Second, identify the relevant bodies of literature or discipline and identify the potential community partner. And hindi ko nalagay, identify the potential output and impact of the part of the project. Okay? For you naman to get literature review, pwede rin kayong kumuha ng mga peer-reviewed published about PAR or CBPR to evaluate the methodology used. So you can check whether the 9 principles of CBPR are there. Ano ba yung pinaka-principle ng CBPR ang meron? Ano yung kanyang evaluation criteria for a specific method? And what worked well and what could be improved upon? Okay? And lastly, this also enhances your ability to disseminate and communicate the results of your PAR later on practice writing a blog. Okay? So the goal of this exercise is to get you the habit of writing accessibly, not to publish your piece. If you have conducted research using any research method, write a piece of intended for popular audience about your research. If you have not conducted a research, select a current event of interest. The topic doesn't matter. And the exercise is about writing accessibly. No, op-eds or yung through Facebook ninyo, i-live na, ilagay nyo doon 600 to 800 words that can suggest for paragraph format. So pwedeng ilagay nyo doon yung mga the opening paragraphs introduces the topic, second, present the information argument, no? A strong statement with which to leave the reader, and then forget to give your piece of catchy title. So ito lang naman ay sign-ups of strengtheners na pwede nyong i-adapt. Kasi babalik rin ulit tayo, my dear educators and listening teachers. We cannot also do a good participatory action research if we do not have the ability to write a research. Okay? So, thank you very much. Maraming salamat. It's 11:43. I'm sorry for the technical difficulty. Thank you very much. Sana may naiwan na information. I am now open for your question and answer, for the question and answer portion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Magulod, for your very productive talk on participatory action research, theory, and methods for engaged inquiry. I'm sure that our participants have learned a lot this morning, so we will now proceed on the open forum or the question and answer portion. There is somebody assigned in our committee to select questions to be asked in this segment. We would like to encourage everyone to raise relevant questions on the topic presented this morning. We will try to cater as many questions as we can. So anybody who is willing to ask question for Dr. Magulod? Well, I cannot see any question here in the comment box, which means that everything has been discussed is already clear to our participants. But the organizers just would like to ask, sir, being the president of International Congress of Innovation and Researchers Incorporated, or ICIBR, the co-presenter of this event, what is your words of encouragement for our members who have just started doing their action research?
Okay, thank you very much. Kaya nga ang una kong kinuha na topic ay participatory action research for this year 2022. Because since you are all already members of the ICIBR, we can conceptualize, we can already plan for a project na talagang par ang kanyang nature. It's good also that itong ICIBR natin can also do a high impact activity or project na may activity na ganito sa Luzon, sa Visayas, and Mindanao, na meron tayong sinusulong na mga activities like PAR na kailangan nating i-develop. The reason why ICIBR is there is it's more on innovative educators. And how can we become innovative educators if we are only sticking at our confined only to the four walls of our classroom? We try also to adapt. We try also to go with the trend. Hopefully, no, the other activities for ICIBR will be a sort of research results utilization. Na yung mga nagawa yung mga researches, kunin natin lahat ang mga yan, bibigyan namin kayo ng opportunity to present your research in this forum. It's a professional network wherein we can learn, we can adapt. And if there are things that we need to do more, no, kung para par talaga yung gagawin natin, we can do a national participatory action research in your areas na talagang ang skill na is pang-national kasi nandito naman kayo lahat. So I am envisioning ICIBR to be as productive as PICE 21I, and we do more collaborations, we do research, because I myself is a researcher, and let's try to help one another. Let's try to mentor one another para we can really come up with a productive project in our school, in our community. na doon tayo makikilala, doon tayo magkakaroon ng pangalan. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Program Host. Anong pangalan mo pala, sir?
My name is Isidro Villa po, sir.
Okay, Sir Isidro. Okay, are there questions na kailangan pa nating i-address? Hopefully, yung participation nyo ngayon, that will be sustained, no? Your engagement with us, that will be sustained. I am taking this opportunity to thank Dr. Ricky Cubinco for the opportunity given to me. And of course, the staff and the organizers. Any other, parang gusto kong may magtanong pa para ma-concretize talaga yung mga gusto nating mangyari. Makita natin later on, hindi na separate yung action research nyo, kundi nandoon na lahat, no, kompletos recados na. Action research, may pang livelihood development, may IM development na rin. Okay, doon kayo makikilala. And that's the reason why we have this, no? We are looking in the context na tayo ay, if we will not be known nationally, or we will be known internationally, because we are the International Congress of Educators and Innovators in the Philippines.
All right, so I think that the iceberg will have a long way to go under your leadership. And thank you, sir, for your very inspiring message. And we are receiving very positive feedbacks here in our comment section. So do you have any question po? Kindly comment your question on the comment box. So I think we have a question here. We're just waiting them to type their question. So I'll read the question, sir. We have a question here from Sir Noel Benavides. And his question is, can extension project and action research be done simultaneously?
Yes, Sir Noel, it's a very good question. The PAR itself is already an RDE project. It's already a research project and an action research project. It is also an extension project. So ibig sabihin, nandito na po lahat. Okay? So nandyan na lahat yung mga dapat yung gawin. Kumbaga, malaki siya na programa. At kung mayroon kang research later on na, kasi it's a component eh. It's a project, it has different studies. Under a project, may mga maliliit siya na studies na per component na pwede nyo pang i-carry out. Okay? Basta nandoon talaga yung impact at outcome ng research. We have Sir Ronnie Balyados here. Sir Sid? Sir Sid,
yes, we have another question from Sir Mark Piche. And I think he's requesting the technical team for assistance. He is raising his hand, sabi niya. So, technical team, kindly assist Sir Mark Piche po.
Okay, sir. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Gilbert, how many times I have heard you speak now, because I've been attending also the PAISAI. So, as always, congratulations. And I have 3 questions po, sir. First, sir, do we need to conduct evaluative study after an action research? Kasi po, of course, that's another type of research, di ba, sir? Evaluative study. And then number 2, sir, kasi sir, na-curious ako, may mga na-emphasize na words sa presentation like lived experience, thick descriptions. Are we inclined towards qualitative research? Of course, not really compromising the measurements, but are we inclined to that direction po yung approach natin? And number 3, sir, may mga partners po minsan, di ba, sir? Yung mga businesses, NGOs. So sometimes oftentimes they look for metrics to measure the success of the program. So shall we anticipate it and include it po as part of our recommendations, or shall we conduct another study of some sort to provide the metrics? So, yun po, sir, ang 3 kong katanungan. Thank you for the opportunity, Paisay.
Thank you very much, sir. As always, the questions are very good. Okay. With regards to first question, sir, that can already part of your project wherein you will do an impact assessment of the project in the community or in the school community. Kasi yun yung measurement talaga na yung ginawa nyong PAR or research project talagang may impact. So that can be part already of your project to measure yung kanyang success rate. No? And the impact can be measured after 2 to 3 years. Depende lang po kung ano yung mga indicators na min-measure natin doon. And number 2, sir, with regards to to PAR, wala po kasi tayong definite na research method or na ginagamit yan. Kasi recursive siya. So, ibig sabihin, it's a combination of quanti and quali. Depende na lang kung paano mo in-arrange yung statement of the problem and the purpose of the study mo. That will be the arrangement of the output, no? And of course, ang titignan kasi natin dito is ano yung level ng community engagement at ano yung change na nangyari. And the last one is funding institutions are really looking for the success rate of the project before they talk with you, before they venture with you. Parang ano lang po kasi talaga yun bakit kita pagkakatiwalaan? Yun ang tanong. Okay? So, when you talk of PAR, it's really hard talaga rin to get people to be a member of your team. But, no, kung meron kayong definite na conceptual at framework na gustong gawin at may patutunguhan at very concrete ka doon sa mangyayari at yun yung gusto mo talagang i-venture wherein their involvement there is seen, no, talaga pong magugustuhin nila at pupunduhan po nila yan. Kasi yun lang po kasi ang level of engagement nila kasi we get these agencies, we get these people to help us para ma-carry out. And see to it that whenever you talk with them, ready ka na rin sa isasabihin mo sa kanila na ano yung level ng kanilang partnership, ano yung mangyayari sa kanila. Kasi ganun din naman po ang tao. Ayaw kanilang, ano ba, kung hiram tayo ng pera, ayaw naman nila tayong pahiramin ng pera kung hindi rin definite yung pinaka-purpose. Ganun din po ang mga funding agencies natin. So, a matter of creating first the framework of the project we would like to do. Na define mo sa kanila kung ano yung kanilang maging function, ano yung maging ambag ng research mo sa kanila, at ano yung mangyayari na siyempre nandoon na rin yung pangalan ng kanilang agency, nandoon na rin yung pangalan ng kanilang school. So yun po yung purpose kasi natin. I hope, sir, I was able to answer the 3 questions given.
Maraming salamat, sir. Thank you po.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. So another question from Christine Sandoval. Here's the question. It happened that we are on pandemic. What is your suggestion for researchers to do community works?
Okay, that has been the problem. You know, we have externally funded projects and they are really community in nature, no, community-based. Funding agencies po do not really like the idea na, ala, hindi namin nagawa kasi pandemic. Ayaw nila yung rason because the thing there is kung talagang define yung magiging work plan natin, define yung mga gagawin natin, proper coordination, we can do an extension, we can do a project like this in the community po. So, hindi po limitation talaga yung plan natin. Unless, no, meron naman pong mga tools na pwede natin gamitin, we have online tools, may Zoom Messenger, Zoom, kung ano pa man yung pwede natin gamitin as long as reliable siya to get information, to convene the member, to get the group. That's also being encouraged po. Thank you, Ma'am Christine.
All right, so I think we are down to our last question. So we have a question here from Sir Ronnie Baliado. His question is, how can we start a PAR on reading project for elementary pupils?
Wow, napakagandang idea po ito, sir, no? Sir Ronnie. This is what a good project, no? A reading project. Meron din silang project read. Hindi ko alam kung meron kayong ganun na activity na sa mga schools ninyo. Reading project, you try to identify first kung sino talaga yung mga tao na mai-involve dyan. Kung kailangan mo ng funding, of course, you need to include people. For example, no, another activity on a reading project like that is inassess niya yung mga capacity ng mga kwan. Hindi siya different doon sa binigay ko na example ng school classroom. Kasi a reading project can be a participatory project among the parents, among the children, the teachers, among the barangay officials, among even the National Library is supporting this. They are giving books for teachers na may mga project na ito. Basta meron lang po kayong proposal, kailangan nyo po munang tignan yung mga bagay na yan. Pero ang pinakauna po, if you are really interested to start with a reading project, is you develop first the conceptual framework of your project. And i-design mo na kung ano yung mga tao na involved, ano yung participation nila. Then later on, you draft it as a proposal. For a reading project like this, maraming components po ang reading project na yan. Pwedeng nandyan yung level, yung literacy practices ng mga parents. Kasi kailangan mo ring i-survey bakit ganun yung level ng kanilang reading skill ng mga bata mo. I-justify mo yon. Bakit school mo ang mag-host yun? Ilang school? So something like that. Ano yung level ng reading comprehension nila? So previously, to start a part talaga, meron na kayong mga data to justify yung mga background. Then you form now the group. And explain now to the, for example, to the SB member in your community who is in charge of the Committee on Education, na sabihin mo, this is what is happening in our district. I hope you can also do something to help us, something like that. So ito yung mga ibang mga bagay na pwede niyo pong gawin. Sir, to give you a concrete example, I can share you the article on School Classroom. There is no much difference doon sa methodology na pwede mong gawin. Thank you, Sir Ronnie.
All right. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Magtulod. You are truly inspiring. So at this juncture, we will be giving the certificate of recognition to Dr. Gilbert Magtulod Jr. And I'd like to read the certificate. So the certificate of recognition reads, the Gilbert C. Magtulod Jr., PhD, for imparting his invaluable time, resources, and expertise as a resource speaker on topic participatory action research theory and methods for engaged inquiry during the conduct of National Action Research Expo 2022, accorded on the 28th day of January 2022 via Zoom video conferencing and the live stream on POMI YouTube channel and PICE 21 Facebook page. Signed by Mr. Ricky A. Kibinko and Professor Emmy John Indonila, the President of Philippine Institute of the 21st Century Educators. So thank you once again. So we will continue with our expo at 3 p.m. this afternoon with our second topic, Action Research, Developing Effective Thinking and Practice, to be conducted by Professor Rusty C. Samosa. See you later at 3 p.m.
Maraming
For
salamat
now,
po mga ka-iceberg.
Yes. For now, we will proceed on the photo opportunity for our participants. So, technical, kindly lend some assistance.
Okay lang, sir. Okay, so good morning, everyone. So we have 5 panels in our room. So panel 1, so ready, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, so just keep smiling, guys. So 1, 2, 3, smile. Again, so 1, 2, 3, smile. So panel 4, 1, 2, 3, smile. And the last panel, so 1, 2, 3, and smile. Okay, so thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you so much to our participants. See you later this afternoon. For additional announcement, you can click this link for the evaluation and the attendance.